So I want to thank you all for coming to the special ordinance administration committee meeting Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. This meeting is being recorded.
Or I would like more people I know. That's basically yeah, it's faced my foot actually, my foot a bit of my brain. And it's ever so slightly technically.
So it should be good.
All right. Cool. Yes. Good action. We have the crowd. Cool. And as soon as it's been like rain, it's an ice skating rink.
All right, again, thank you everybody for coming here tonight. The meeting is being recorded and we will be asked a question. In attendance, we have Councilor Grace, Councilor Majota, Councilor Worthley, our council president, Tony Gross. I believe we have that's what we have right now. So without further ado, we're going to move on to number one, boards, committees, and commissions. And first up, and I'd be lying if I wasn't telling you that I wasn't very happy about this, but Alexander Grace for the Committee for the Arts. And I couldn't recommend a better person for this. Alexander, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a Gloucester native, born and raised here, lived here all my life. I'm a musician and an artist. I own a local music school, Alexander Grace Music. I teach about 100 of our city's youth, all the way from 5-year-olds. And then I also have a bunch of adult students in music and recording, songwriting, singing. I'm very involved with all the musicians of the area, a lot of the visual artists of the area. I kind of dabble in everything. I graduated from Berklee College of Music in 2020. Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
We're going to start with council questions. And we'll start with her mom. She can't vote, but she can start.
To say that I'm proud of you would be an understatement. You know, you've been volunteering your time and talents to this community since you were 12 years old. You know, in various and sundry different things with the city, with your singing and what you have done with the youth in this community is extraordinary. Not only are you you're a teacher, but you're mentor as well. And the example that you set for them is extraordinary. You know, your goal to make music accessible to everyone, you have achieved that. And I am so very, very proud of you. So thank you so much for giving your time to this. Thank you. You're welcome.
Councilor Majota.
Can't top mom, but it's always great to have you know, anyone from the city, you know, join a committee, but also I think the younger people, it's always nice. It's just to get perspective, and it's just continuously what we're trying to do is always, you know, as great as the city is, we're always trying to improve it, and having the younger generation a different point of view is always great to have today. So you definitely have my support, and I've seen you've seen your work, and I've heard you sing, so you're amazing. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Alexander, for me, this is simple and almost like I'm happy to do this. I beg you to do this. I first started seeing you when I got on the city council. It's almost 10 years. You've been performing at city things, whether it be for Veterans Day or Memorial Day or at City Hall for inaugurations. I've seen you in the community, Magnolia. I remember being at Ask Council with Jason Grow and you guys performing, and some of the talent that you have out there with these young children singing and putting themselves out there for the enjoyment of the public. It's unbelievable. They wouldn't have that voice without you. And aside from being on this board, I can't thank you enough for doing what you do for the community. So for me, this is an easy one. With that being said, I ask Councilman Majota to read the motion. Oh, you have it. Sorry about that.
Committee recommendation, move to recommend that the city council appoint Alexander Grace to the Committee for the Arts, term ending 2/16/26, and I so move.
Second. All right, so all in favor?
Hi.
Aye. And that's 2 in favor, 1 that can't. So thank you very much, Alexandra. And obviously, next Tuesday, we have the full council for you to come again.
Great.
And by all means, bring a music guest.
Break out in song in the middle of the meeting.
I think you have to, or else.
And you're welcome to stay too.
Yeah.
You go get this morning.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Excited.
great night.
Nice to meet you.
So next up on the Gloucester Cultural Council, we have Rodney Christie. Rodney, I got a chance to talk to you a little bit before the meeting, but if you could just tell us a little bit of yourself, where you're from and how you want to deal with this.
Of course. Oh, I've been living in Gloucester since 2010. I graduated from Johnson Wales and came up here to work in the restaurant industry. I live right now currently in East Gloucester on Main Street. It's really nice over there. Really doing East Main Street, excuse me. I really do enjoy it. It's really nice to be at a town that's very picturesque. I fell in love with this town since I was a kid and enjoyed coming up here ever since. And then being a resident since 2010 has grown to enjoy this place more and more and what this town has to offer. And I'd love to offer my own services to this town.
Really appreciate that. We'll start off with Council Majota. Do you have any questions or comments?
I'm a fellow Wildcat myself,
Yes.
JWU alum.
Nice.
So thank you for stepping up. And there's a lot of emphasis. Some people say, oh, the born and raised part, which is, it's great to have that, but also have someone who's not necessarily born here. You from you said 2010.
Yes.
And it's great that you want to be involved, whether you're born and raised here or you're day one in Gloucester. You choose to live here, you're a resident. Yeah, and it's great to have people who want to get involved in the community. So thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. I love having a problem where I have to pick which beach I want to go to today.
Yes. And we all can't wait for beach season.
No.
Councilor Grace.
Yeah, I heard a lot of what you were saying earlier before the meeting, and to bring, the vitality back to Rocky Neck as a goal, I think is
Yes.
wonderful. That used to be the happening place in this town all summer. You couldn't get near the place. There was just so much activity and fun. So, if that is on your radar to bring that back, I think that's fabulous. So
Yes,
thank
I have
you
a
so
lot
much.
of ideas and things that I'd love to bring to Rocky Neck. Like, for example, if we can close down Main Street and do a bazaar there, since East Gloucester and Rocky Neck, why can't we close that off and do a drink, shop, eat local and just support all local businesses and be able to have a day of family and celebration on a Sunday during the summer and have everyone come down to Rocky Neck and bring attention back to it. Because you remember we were featured when we first opened the first year. Gloucester put in about $1 million into winter and fall advertising, and a lot of the travel agents that came over from England and Ireland were at the Salted Cod. So I got a chance to know that and what was going on, and we were featured in that article. So I'd love to see Rocky Neck as a destination for all year round.
Yeah.
The artists who definitely do deserve it.
Definitely, it's one of the oldest art colonies that there is. So, I think great, it's wonderful, your ideas and your passion and your energy. So thank you so very much for putting yourself out there and doing this.
My pleasure.
Excellent. Rodney, from before you came in, we talked a little bit, and from what I hear right now, this is great. The Gloucester Cultural Committee is awesome. We're a free-loving, understanding, diverse city. And all we want is happiness for our citizens, places for us to live freely, and that's how we like to continue it. And a Rocky Neck block party, that sounds awesome. And
Like I've been talking to residents on Rocky Neck about it, like to tell you how the day would go. I have friends who are yoga and instructors who do yoga in the morning, do face painting, bouncy houses thing to attract kids and family throughout the morning, afternoon, have someone play a saxophone so it just fills the air with music, and then at night bring a reggae band in it so we get that little itch back of a reggae Sunday on a Sunday.
I think that you need to reach out to Counselor Gross and Counselor Memhard, because I think that could be a really good time.
hate public events.
I meant not Gross, I'm sorry. But
My mother had a shop on it.
she did, that's right.
Over the running?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just getting to know all the artists in the Rocky Neck community and just helping them out during the winter with sales and things, it gave me a chance to really learn about art. I'm excited to keep learning.
No, that would be a fun time. I'll look forward to that. And that being said, I'll ask Council Grace to read a motion that she can vote
Committee recommendation move to recommend that the city council appoint Rodney Christie to the Gloucester Cultural Council, term to end on 2/16/28, and I so move.
Second.
on. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, excellent. So Rodney, Lines is outside and he'll
Swear you in.
we'll see you on the 25th.
Next Tuesday.
Yes,
Yes.
and we'll get you through the full council. If they approve, I'm sure they will.
All
So
right.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a
Thanks,
great
My
night.
pleasure.
Thanks for down there, or you want to stick around and give it a ride?
Hmm?
Want to ride? Let's see if it's hooked up there.
See you, thank you.
Next up, we have open space, Tom Vasiri, but this is gonna be continued to March 3rd. He is unable to be here tonight. So then we have for the Shellfish Advisory Commission, we have Peter Batier. Peter,
Nothing, no raised hand on the,
He's good.
how do I pull him in?
lines.
I don't know.
Peter's on.
He's in. We have Peter.
Peter, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hey, Peter, how you doing?
Good. I'm actually just past the post office and I'll be right in a minute. So if you want to, hold on a couple minutes, I can be there in person.
Not a problem. We'll wait for you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. I can get rid of Peter. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Fine.
We skipped. Well, because then we're gonna go into reappointments. But we can do that. For the Board of Health, we have Thorne Akerley. I don't see him, but he's known to us. He's been on the committee. I have no problem putting him through before. It is without any exception. That being said, Frank, if you'd like to read the motion,
Is it Akerley?
Akerley.
Committee recommendation move to recommend that city council appoint Thorson Akerley to the Board of Health, term ending 2/16/28, and I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we have City Owned Cemeteries Advisory Committee, Matthew Murray. Is Matthew Murray around?
I haven't heard him yet.
No, I haven't seen him. Hi, Matt. Would you like to say a few things?
I don't have anything to say. If anyone has any questions about, the last 3 years in the cemetery commission.
No, but I think we can give you some accolades.
No, I think Matt, you're a great member of the community. You're very well spoken, very well liked. You're very knowledgeable. And you're just gonna be you've done it before and you're just a perfect fit.
Fantastic. And nobody caught me selling graves for nefarious reasons or
No,
registering them all as Democrats and all fresh graves. So, thank God.
I won't say anything.
You didn't, and it went through, and it's even Lines didn't catch it, so we're actually all set. So, the clerk's office, so.
Councilor Grace.
It's be fun in the cemetery with you. Thank you for coming forward again and I need like one by your sense of humor. To do this again. It is appreciated by all of us. It's an important role. Our cemeteries are our history, so I appreciate it.
Matt, what I can say about this commission is that it's grown leaps and bounds in the last 8 years. And a lot of people may think about the cemetery commission and what happens is just being, whatever. But when it comes down to someone trying to find someone, their family, or where they're going, now you guys digitized everything. The cleaning of the graves, the working on raising money to bring the grave sites and the burial ground to manicured expense in the way it's done. You guys have done a great job, a wonderful job. And no one really will notice it until they're looking to find a loved one. And that's when your work comes into play. So definitely, I thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you. I would say that it's definitely a whole team effort. And I
It is.
feel sometimes that I started with the cemeteries 23 years ago when I went into First Parish Burial Ground, when it was an absolute nightmare. I had to, I came back the next day with with an electric weed whacker that I had to plug into the bathroom light socket of a neighbor who let me climb through their window and then I could only get a few hundred feet out of that. Because we've had inconsistent, and this is the task for the city going forward, because Sandy and Carol and Chris and myself and Cindy won't be here forever and ever, is to make sure that we have constant and consistent care. Because we haven't. First Parish, if anybody might not even know the First Parish is there, that's fine, because it's evolved in a way that it's hidden. But I think a lot of people, especially anybody who drove to Lanesville between 1985 and 10 years ago, would know that the Bayview Cemetery was an overgrown nightmare. But it is constant work to make sure that that the partnership, the DPW is kept up, and that maintenance is a constant. Is constant. So, and that they're in perpetuity, because of course private cemetery you pay for, they have staff, etc. Whereas in the public cemeteries and burial grounds, we have the DPW, which means you have to make sure the DPW is funded, or make sure that they have time to go in, make sure that the stones that need to be replaced and repaired are done professionally. When I was first involved with what the predecessor of this commission, it was just the Historic Burial Grounds Advisory Board, which means it advised the Historic Commission. It was not a commission of the mayor, did not advise the mayor or work directly with Mike Hale or any of his predecessors to do anything. It was just sort of almost like a public interest group that happened to meet in the city upstairs at City Hall. So the trick is to make sure that we have ongoing support for commissions like this, and that they're well staffed going on into the future, because I can guarantee you the next 10 or 15 years, the cemeteries are going to look great, but I can't guarantee you what they're going to look like 100 years from now if we don't have consistent care.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Matt. With that being said, Councilor Grace, do we have a motion?
Committee recommendation, move to recommend that the city council reappoint Matthew Murray to the city-owned cemetery advisory committee, term to 2/16/28. I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Matthew, thank you very much. Obviously, it's a reappointment. You're not necessary to be here for next Tuesday, but thank you for all your continued hard work.
All right, well, I'll see you all soon, and have a wonderful, was it Tuesday night tonight, right?
It is. Excellent. So next up, I'm happy to say that we have the Shellfish Advisory Commission. Peter Verkeer has been.
How'd you get old?
Yes, hi, Peter.
Thank you.
If you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in the committee.
Sure. I've been an attorney. I work in Boston. I just actually got off the train. That's where I was working here. I practice environmental and land use law. So I've been serving on the Conservation Commission for, I think, 2 years now, since July of 23, so maybe 1. And I was asked to fill this open position on the Shellfish Commission, as there's supposed to be one standing member from the Conservation Commission.
Exactly.
Yeah, really don't know, have any knowledge or experience with shellfish, but it's something that interests me or intrigues me. And something I'm, looking to dig into and see if I can, learn a little bit more and help out and serve.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter. Councilor Grace, do you have any questions or comments?
I have no doubt that with your educational background, you have no difficulty learning about shellfish, and I think the whole conservation thing, it ties into it beautifully. And I'm grateful that the city for stepping up and wanting to do that more in free communities.
Thank you.
Councilor Majota.
Exactly what she says. Thank you so much. Taking, to do these commissions, committees, you're volunteering. We're all so busy, and you're spending time monthly, daily, weekly, whatever it is, to try to learn more or to help the city out. So thank you for that.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilman Gota. So Peter, there's actually a lot of ties between conservation and shellfish. Uh, Shellfish actually are huge in cleaning our waterbeds in isolated mud areas. There's, oysters are very productive in dealing with bacteria, diseases, and also the mess that's going on. And we're experimenting with that. And the reason why the Conservation Commission is involved is just for that fact. So you're a smart person. I've seen you evolve over the last couple of years and watch the meetings. And what you'll learn from the shellfish administration, how they work, is probably gonna intrigue you. You know what I mean? You go to the Maritime Gloucester, we're gonna do a demonstration with the dirty water and they dump a bunch of oysters in there and next thing you know, the tank's clear.
Yeah.
It all works together and it's important. But it's good for you to know in conservation how much the watershed or runoff areas in high contaminated areas can affect the shellfish as well. So we had an issue with Jones Creek in West Gloucester 4 years ago where we couldn't clam it. And they were looking for septic levels, they were, testing and doing everything. And it turned out being a person that was dumping their chicken feces into the water. And that simple thing closed the flats for 2 years. So there's so much that works together that people need to understand about the environment and how it works. And I think you're gonna be a perfect fit for this.
Oh, thank you.
Not a problem. With that being said, do we have a motion?
Committee recommendation, move to recommend City Council appoint Peter Bertier to the Shellfish Advisory Commission, term ending 2/16/28, and I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Peter, you're well known to our committee. If you can't make it next Tuesday night, don't worry about it.
Okay.
You're an existing member on the board, so we're not gonna treat this as a reappointment or as a new appointment. It'll be more of a reappointment.
Okay.
If you wanna come, that's great, but I look forward to seeing what you can do to help them out.
All right. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Peter. So I'm gonna ask to take a 5-minute recess. Any objections to that?
No.
So we're gonna do 5 minutes off. I'm gonna pause the recording. And we're gonna get
Will be
ready.
recorded.
Well, they'll be recording there, but not here. Well, we'll leave them both on.
I can't turn it off.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much. Still recording. I just want to know that on number 5, anybody that's here for the voting times? Reason for it is we have some people that can't be here tonight. On that, then one of them is the DPW director. Right now, we're moving snow in the parking lot. So we are gonna move this forward for 2 weeks. Sorry about the inconvenience, if someone came for this, it makes sense, but we'll find out what happens. The suspense is killing. As long as it's not killing birds. All right, so next up, we have number 3, CC 2025-005 Worthley amend GCO Chapter 5, Building and Building Regulations, Article 5, Short-Term Rentals, Section 564 Definitions, Section 566 Requirements for the operation of short-term rentals, subsection H, T, and Section 569. Prohibitations continued from 1/21/25. Now, on this, we had a good meeting with a bunch of information. We're gonna look to give some more information tonight, and we're gonna ask some more questions before we move on to the full council. I'll look around the room right now, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask Tony Gross if he would like to speak on why what he has done and what this is going to affect, what's the outcome of this is. Tony, you ready to speak on that?
I hadn't been prepared.
Well, you don't have to be.
Didn't prepare anything.
Okay.
It's no mystery that there's a housing shortage.
Mhm.
And, this has been mislabeled as to fix affordable housing. This is about housing, not affordable housing. Every apartment and home that's taken out of inventory for a short-term rental is no longer available for full-time residents. And we've seen a nationwide critical mass on short-term rentals. Gloucester has not hit its critical mass yet, but it's only a matter of time before we become just another sleepy bedroom community that's vacationers put vacation land on our Gloucester license plates. So, call the Newell Stadium no longer fighting fishermen, but fighting tourists. So this is just one aspect of the many tools that we need, because if there was an automatic silver bullet fix, we'd be doing it. And there isn't, but there's it's very incremental things that you can do to help relieve and maintain. Now, this has, there's been a 3-year grandfathering clause in there. I think that this is premature. I'm not sure why this was brought forward, because we don't have the data that we will collect. And in 2 years, we'll have a whole lot more knowledge than we do now. So I just believe that this is way too premature. No one who's in business today is being affected by this. As much as we've been being, told in emails that this is the ruination, but nobody who's in business today is being affected by this. So I think if we just let this be enacted as we voted unanimously to move forward with this and see what happens and look at it down the future.
All right, excellent. And I do want to say that at this point, we do have a quorum of the council. And I feel as though that we can only ask questions. I don't want to hear testimony when we have a full quorum. So if any councils on the committee has any other questions to ask before we decide on what we're going to do going forward, they can ask them now, but ask cautiously.
Could my questions be directed towards Councilor Wardley?
It could be.
It could be because okay.
He's the.
And Tony
Yes.
as well? Okay. So with Tony, and now I'll go to Jeff. With the 3-year window that people have for the short-term rentals. And again, any ordinance, anything that we make, any council could change anything. Correct. So pretty much what you're saying is that you want to, whoever is doing an Airbnb or short-term rental, Airbnb is the company, but short-term rental, the data that we've collected within the 3 years, starting from the data starts to 2 years from now. Once we have that data, we can make changes. If I'm on the council, or whoever's on the council, can make changes to either make more days or whatever they want to do.
Absolutely.
And so I guess it's really more question. So you're just trying to collect data to see who is registered for short-term rental. And changes can be made 2 years from now, and no one who's running a short-term rental from now to 2 years will be affected pretty much based on this ordinance. 3 years, but I'm saying, yes, 3 years, but I'm saying 2 years, we'll have 2 years of data and then a year to sort of make changes from there, but 3 years. Am I interpreting that
The
correctly?
data that's in the ordinance is, how many days, what type of short-term rental you are, whether you're a shared rental, a owner occupied, or a non-owner occupied residence. So those will all be, the people who have the short-term rental, and that's why it calls for a living person's name and not a corporation's name, is so that you have a person who is identified as basically the person who owns who's in charge. It could be, the trustees could make a member of their group, of the trustees. They could elect the person who would be in charge of that, but it has to be a living person. It's not eliminating the other, LLCs or things like that, living trusts. You have to have a living person who's answerable to this. And they are responsible for collecting the data and holding it, I think, to a minimum of 3 years. And then that would be available. Of course, then the city would then have to request that.
And a lot of these regulations are coming, not necessarily the 3 years, but the state is also making more mandates for short-term rentals, and that correct, based on,
It's my understanding that they're all going to have to be inspected annually.
okay, and that's a state law, not a
New
city law.
building code.
Okay. Thank you. And then Council Wardley. When we voted, I think this was November, December, geez, everything.
September.
August. Get this back, okay. Was it before surgery, right?
Yeah.
August 27th.
August 27th, okay. So I want to have your understanding based on what changed from your vote from August until a few months ago, or when this was in place and why this is in place, based on the information we have from Tony, that we have 2 years to collect data and then be able to adjust anything so no one is truly affected if we need to make changes. So I want to know why this, and I will ask the same questions again in front of the council again, just so it'd be a bigger crowd, but that's why I know.
So your question is, what changed since August that made me think we need to
Yes.
change this? Okay. So I'm gonna answer your question and kind of tie it into the question you also asked, which was, what about these changes and I'm gonna agree with Councilor Gross, we need data. And if you just want to put something forward that says, let's just collect data, then we would take out the restrictions of limiting to certain things that we're trying to accomplish, trying to achieve, which say, let's just make sure that they're being used for residential purposes, make sure that they notify people about noise regulation, like all the things we put in big quality of life issues for neighborhoods, put that in and get the data, but then we've got all these regulations, and I would say, and I'll put myself in, I was in the quorum, I voted for this. We needed more data before we made that decision. And we should get that data before we regulate. If it turns out that we put this forward or keep it going as it is, and we say there's this 120-day limit and this cap, well, someone who got a 30-year mortgage on a property that they did a business plan, they're gonna look at and say, okay, well, in 3 years, I need to do something because this is the new regulation of the books. I can't hope that a new council gets elected and changes it. This is the plan that I gotta work on, my business plan. And they're gonna probably sell their house and say, I can't, in 3 years, I'm gonna be out of business. I'm gonna sell this, and they're not gonna sell it for as a affordable unit. They're gonna sell it for millions of dollars, and we're gonna lose another Gloucester resident. So I would say, I agree with Councilor Gross. If you want to strip it down and just get the reporting information out of this, then I'm all for that. We'll get the data and we'll make a decision on what needs to be regulated. But the ordinance as it's written puts in very specific changes that now that I've had some time to think about it, because it was a little rushed in August. I know you look like it was rushed, but it was rushed in terms of input that we didn't receive, data that we don't have. And I say this with respect, there was, some
Data we can't get.
Well, we can get data. We can get data.
Well-
Without saying you're restricted to these days, but, we were under a little bit of pressure. I think Councilor Nolan wasn't at that meeting, right? You had family situation come up. I know you had surgery, maybe the next week or so. We want to get this done. And I would say we should pause and get the data without putting forth basically a mission statement. We are going to regulate this and cut this industry in this way without actually taking into all the considerations. I respectfully put in a series of questions, so that if I can get a chance to ask questions, I put them all in formal questions, so they don't have to worry about testimony, but at some point I wouldn't mind asking some questions too. If I could.
I just have one last one. There'll be more after you two ask questions. I guess my only correction with you is if that person who bought a house in Gloucester had a business plan and wanted to sell their house in 3 years, you said we'll lose a Gloucester resident,
So they're gonna
But
have
that-
to sell it.
but then we're potentially, but we would not necessarily lose a Gloucester resident because another person would buy the house and become a Gloucester resident.
Oh, no question.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, we're not saying it's gonna be vacant.
Right,
Right, I get
that's
it.
it. Okay.
I'm saying we represent people who are here now.
Right.
So that's.
Councilor Grace, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted, just for clarification purposes, the 120-day limitations, does that apply to new permitting or existing permitting?
All permitting, it does not apply to existing for 3 years.
For 3
Any
years? So-
new, it would apply to.
So the people
So
that
the
are,
people who are gonna buy will know upfront, which is all the more reason to have these provisions in place. Now, no harm is happening to anyone for 3 years.
so anybody that's sitting in this room now that currently has a short.
If they're registered with the state,
If you're registered, then that 120-day maximum does not apply to you
Correct.
until the 3-year period unless we go and or whomever rewrites the ordinance,
Right.
correct?
And also, sorry, you mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do a
It's only-
30-day
it's only-
rental,
it's only non-owner occupied that it's second home. If it's a vacation home and the family uses it for 6 weeks that summer, then that opens them up to so much more. I mean, and there's no limitation on 31 days or more. Long-term rental, there is no limitation on being able to rent it.
if you rent for 31 days, you have 31 days plus the 120 days.
Yeah.
You keep
Well,
doing
yeah, I mean.
a monthly rental.
We do monthly rentals, then, and that's what happens with people who are having their homes renovated. They're not a short-term rental. They could never afford to be a short-term rental. They're striking a deal. Everybody I know who's had any renovations never go to a short-term rental. They strike a deal and get a month or 6 months.
All right, so
Okay, I don't understand.
hold on a
We
second,
get a month.
Councilor Worthley. Sorry, I'll ask you a second. I have a question for Tony. On the 31 days, I did read an article, another city, so a few cities have done it, where it's monthly, because some months don't have 31 days.
State law says 30 days, then less are a short-term rental.
So we can't be less, we have to either, we have
Right,
to.
by state law, though, I've seen that in other communities too, but they're in violation of state law.
So that's one thing that I just wanted to bring up that I.
Not that there's gonna be,
Obviously, February is a month where a lot of people want to travel and come and do different things, but 31 days is not 28, the month of February is 28, weekend. So, all right, thank you. Counselor Majota, do you have any other questions?
30 days or less.
I do have some potential amendments that I'm thinking about. I'm still processing, but I will bring that up to full council. I think that's just the more appropriate time. I think, I'm gonna use this time to ask questions and get more information from Tony and Jeff. And then, in front of the full council, I will dig deeper, I think I'm gonna say, or make more, make more.
All right, thank you, Councilor Majota. Michelle, my question to you would be if you had any other information to add to what we're looking at.
So I would. The thing about the 3 years, saying that nobody's affected, I would agree that no one's affected by the 120-day piece, but there's still everything else in there. So, the restrictions on, for people that own a second property and not being able to rent out more than one, the cap of 500. I'm concerned there's going to be a crazy mad scramble and there's going to be a bunch of people that are thinking about doing it, but don't know that they're going to do it. They might do it. And then, you have somebody that's been doing it for 5 years, but they're like 501st in line, all at once. I mean, there's some things that I worry about there. So I think there will be some affected. And then 3 years from now, I find it very, I guess, I'm having a hard time picturing how it will be handled with the 120-day limit in terms of reporting. And, how is the city managing to keep track of that? Are we supposed to keep track and send a note to Tony saying, hey, we're at our limit now? I guess I'm trying to figure out how that's gonna work.
It says it right in the ordinance, go ahead and read it.
Sure.
Says records demonstrating the number of months that the operator has resided in or will reside in the residential unit, if applicable. The records demonstrating the number of guests, the number of days per year the residential unit is offered as short-term rental. The operator will retain those records for 3 years.
Yeah, and we
it's
retain
on-
them now.
It's
but-
on request. Yeah,
Okay.
but you were.
So you might spot
But
check
you
or
are-
ask for those records. That
Yes.
was what, okay.
Yes, and the 500 cap is strictly for non-owner occupied. Not for owner occupied or shared rent.
Right.
And we have 504 total right now in Gloucester of all registered with the state. Right, that's last week.
Do we have any other questions from the council?
And that,
Councilor Grace?
as far as the permitting, anybody that has one now should already be permitted, correct? So that is
State, not by the city.
Yeah, you
According
can't
to
be
this,
permitted.
it's
I keep
separate.
trying to get a permit and they're not open yet.
I understand this was pushed to April,
April,
but I don't
yes.
know if it will be beyond that. So I mean, that's what I'm.
They're-
going
They're
with
holding
permitting,
off
is the
now
cities.
until this situation gets, IT is holding off on it.
Tony, do you know whether legal counsel has reviewed these changes? Or,
I have no idea what the legal counsel has reviewed this Councilor Worthley's council order.
if legal has looked at that, and if we could we have legal at the city council meeting? I think this is one of the things that I see everyone, more questions that come up with the full council, so if we can get legal to.
Yeah, I don't get to tell legal department whether they can come on, we can ask.
We can, if we can ask legal to be there, we can make
put the
requests.
request into legal.
Thank you. I think that would be very helpful to have legal there.
And what's your question, whether this has been run by legal? It hasn't. But what we approved was run by legal, so taking out something we approved wouldn't be illegal. Right, it didn't exist, we went through legal, it got put in, taking something out wouldn't now be illegal.
Council Grace?
Yeah, I have several ideas and things that I would like to put forth, but again, it's something I will do before the full council, I think that the cap of 500 is, I think personally, I think it's pretty generous. At some point in time, we need to, there has to be an end to what is allowed for short-term rentals. Otherwise, the more we are discovered, the more property is going to be taken up. And is it affordable property? Probably not. But does it open up homes for people? Sure.
All right, excellent. So,
A suggestion, not a question, just a suggestion, that you refer this to Suzanne for review before the next city council meeting, so she has time to look at it.
right. And that's what I am gonna do right now. Okay,
Am I allowed to ask questions?
no, you can, go ahead, because then he just did. So he gave a perspective
I don't know,
Right.
question.
on which I was going at.
Okay, but just a couple of questions that I think we should all be thinking. So what problem are we trying to solve? What problem are we actually solving? At what cost? What problem are we creating? We just heard, I think it was Rodney, who was here talking about. Excuse me?
We're just talking to
Talking to Tony Long, asking a question. Well, I heard it, so it's not that quiet. We just heard from Rodney talking about the $1 million investment the city made to add to the fall and winter characteristics of drawing people here in those months. If we limit this to 120 days, aren't we undoing the real diversification of the visitor economy by saying we needed it's gonna be likely the best 120 days. And so all the efforts on fall and winter rentals for our visitor economy will have been wasted. Have we taken into consideration the impact it would have if we had all our renters only here those 120 days on traffic and parking, if you had everyone here at the same time? Will this limitation suddenly create affordable, long-term, year-round rentals in Magnolia and Ennisquam and Eastern Point on Boulevard? Will this lead to some Gloucester residents selling their $1 million homes because they can't rent them out any longer? I think Councilor Gross said that the data would be provided by request. Is that data public information that we can then use to inform our decisions, or is it private proprietary information about who's
No, be with the building inspector.
on how many people and number of days would be all public information?
That's how it's set up by the state for them to start recording it.
What impact will this have, the regulation that we passed in August, have on Gloucester residents who rely on this income in order for them to live in the state? And have we evaluated the impact this has on our residents who work in the service industry? Our waiters, our waitresses, our landscapers, our tradespeople? What impact will this have on their ability to afford to live here if we've just taken jobs away from them and cut their hours?
All right, Council Worthley, all those things have been asked in emails, and we're taking it very at heart on this. I obviously have gone to a second meeting to make sure that we're hearing people. We have thoughts on this, and it's important to us and to everybody in the city of Gloucester. It's not an easy thing. At this point, I do think that I am gonna ask Suzanne Egan to look at this and bring it back in 2 weeks and have our decision and read the motion and go to battle, because I think there's gonna be some battling at council over this to find the best outcome for everybody. So, without any objection, I'd like to send this back to legal and get their, decision on that.
Can I just ask, who will answer these questions? We've asked people to ask questions. Who will answer?
We will answer them at council. Obviously, the contractors, the liabilities, the maids, the plow people, everybody is involved in this. I have a lot of friends that have property. They spend a lot of money. They do. We've talked about, reaching out with Doyons, local businesses. This is a huge impacting situation. And I don't take it lightly. And that's the only reason why I'm gonna go to legal on the decision. Because we can always be more restrictive, we can't be less. And we may be on some sort of guideline here, especially on the days of the 30, 31. And so I just wanna make sure that we have everything legally ready to go before we go to council. And I think that the committee has asked questions and gotten the answers from people to find out a reality of where we're at and what needs to happen. So for the council.
Anybody online that wanna ask questions for this too?
Yeah, if they're not here to ask questions, we're here to ask them questions.
Sure. I'll ask one.
You can ask one more question.
I have a question for those of you in attendance that have short-term rentals, just, I know you can't give me a specific figure, but just a ballpark of how often do you rent out in the middle of the winter?
I have people coming in March.
Okay. How about January and February?
I had someone over, New Year's.
Okay, so you do have it, but it's sporadic, it's not.
It's sporadic, yeah. I mean, summer is let's face it, the bread and butter.
So it's not something that is, you know.
But I have them all fall too,
I think we're-
like September, October, and
I'm
straight
just
through.
curious, I'm not kid, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm
I
just
am
trying to
curious,
say that,
just to get a little bit of data right now, if possible, but how many do you, in the winter time, how often do you rent them out?
I think we're starting to almost
Yeah.
get into.
Okay, fair enough.
Committee can ask questions.
Right, but I think we're starting to get into, I don't wanna it's not a public hearing, I wanna make sure that we do, again, follow the rules and the law. I'm not trying to cut anyone off. But I wanna make sure that we follow the rules, that we.
I've never.
Do
heard of
everything.
rule, we can't ask questions, so.
Right.
So I'm gonna,
If I'm wrong, Council Worthy, then you correct me all the time if I'm
No, no,
wrong.
correct.
to the committee, I'd like to continue this for 2 weeks. Hearing back from Suzanne again.
I would like to continue.
Excellent, thank you. So this matter will be continued for 2 weeks. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and please keep reaching out with information. It does make a difference on all aspects of this. We'll talk about that. Number 4, CC 2025-007 Workley. The request that the administration fulfill a management audit of the school department with the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the DESE, in accordance with the Gloucester City Charter, Section 712, management audits and request of a district review report. Council Worthley, I will say that there was an email about this that you said you didn't receive. Okay, so we have 2 things that we can do. I can't show you the email because I don't really know how to dig through my laptop. We can continue this until you can see that. Basically stated that Ben Loomis says that we have no control over what the DESE does or mandates for a audit. It is on the agenda again with BNF, but that's more waiting for an action than anything else.
We decided not to take any
Right,
action
yeah.
because
Yeah.
there isn't anything before us.
Right, so if you want to put this out for 2 weeks to see what's going on, so you can see that email and you can respond to it through Ben, because I don't have any answers for you.
Yeah, that's okay, so, thank you, firstly. The reference to DESE was provided to me from our auditor, Kenny Costa.
Mhm.
Because the last time we did an audit in 2005, the reference was to the Department of Revenue. And he said the Department of Revenue doesn't do audits any longer, it'd be DESE that does that. And they do a regular report. That part isn't critical to moving
Right,
forward.
you wouldn't have done, the 2005 wouldn't have been revenue either, because it's a management audit.
Right.
It's not a financial one, so it's not,
Right, it referenced DOR in the order.
yeah, it didn't go to any state.
Right, but it referenced DOR in the order, so he said we should reference DESE. But that's not the critical piece, I think as Tony said, is me getting the email that Ben sent to you, Ben Lemon sent to you, doesn't change the city council has the jurisdiction and the authority and the requirement to have all the audits. So I'm happy to move forward and get the information about that.
Did you guys get that email?
Yeah.
stating that it wasn't something that, it's not in our purview to ask them to do it.
So I can't comment, but I don't know that I need to hold this up to read an email from Ben Lopez that.
Right,
says
then,
that I can't do it.
why don't we read it?
Just
And,
take that part out.
and then, well, we'll just read it.
Okay.
And then it'll go to council and we'll find out what's going on, but it was pretty clear that they don't, they do not respond to us for this,
Okay, so it's still the
So-
management audit part,
Right.
it's still the key.
which is fine. We'll spend less time just doing this. I believe Counselor Grace, this one is yours.
Move to recommend that the city council request the administration to facilitate a management audit of the school department with the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education in accordance with the Gloucester City Charter, section 7-12, management audits and request a district review report. And I so move.
Excellent. Is there any questions or comments to this? Hearing none, we'll have a vote. All in favor?
Present.
Present.
I would like more information on, I just need more, I'm sorry, so I'm gonna vote present.
Right, that's 3 presidents, so that doesn't go forward.
Where does the information you get come from? If it doesn't come at the committee level,
Right.
everyone's voting president because they need more information. This is the place you get the
Well,
information.
I'm talking about the email, so if you wanna postpone it for 2 weeks, cause I just,
My reasoning is. We have an email that we got as a committee.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
All right, well, which I said to you today that I'll send
The
to
city
you.
clerk hasn't seen it either, so it's not even on the record with the city clerk's office.
So, but,
We don't do our job auditing departments because we got an email that we don't know about.
it's. I think that by using the way that we're gonna audit it is different. You know what? I vote aye. All right,
But then
it's gonna go to council, but it'll go there as a,
why have 2 presidents?
Yeah.
Okay.
but I just think that. We're chasing something that is not gonna happen. The state's not gonna give us any money for an audit. We're gonna have to find money for an audit, which if there is an issue, then it's worth it. But then again, there's a chance of not having a problem.
You could just
So-
amend it, take DESE out of the conversation. That's what I was recommended by Kenny, so we can take
Right,
it
but
out.
if we take the DSE out of it, okay, we do have the email. Do you wanna read it?
It says, Greg, this is what I've learned from Robert Heldala, who is the director of the district and school accountability. 1, the district reviews do not happen on a specific cycle or schedule. 2, DESC does not take requests for doing district reviews from elected officials or city officials. 3, they also don't do a district review at the same time as they are doing a tiered focus monitoring review or when the district is going through an accreditation cycle with the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. 4, we are scheduled a tiered focus monitoring review next year. During the process, DESE will evaluate the district in these areas: license and professional development, parent, student, community engagement, facilities and classroom observation, oversight, time and learning, equal access. Because of the tiered focus monitoring review, DESE will not do a district review of Gloucester next year.
So,
Let's take that part of it out.
well, we can do that and bill council.
all right. So we're already in a situation where we kind of read the motion. We have an idea where we're at. All right. We didn't confirm the vote. As being 1 lost, we have 2 present, 1 went with yay.
Sean, just to interrupt, I think 2 presidents and an aye is still a fail.
Yeah,
You need 2
And then if I
ayes-
vote,
You need 2 ayes to move forward.
Why, you can go forward with a negative.
Yeah, you can move forward with negative recommendation.
Negative recommendation.
yeah, so
it's going to council.
we're gonna move forward as a vote with a negative recommendation. And see what happens. And that's how that's gonna be. Thank you. Next up
Neutral.
is CC 2025-010, where we amend GCO chapter 14. offenses and miscellaneous provisions, Article 1, in a general by adding new section 1418, use of rodicides and second generation anticoagulant rodicides in SGRs on public property. This has been moved for 2 weeks out. So now we have number 6, CC 2025-011, Benson City Council vote to accept general law, chapter 59, section 5, clause 22J. Nancy Papos, could you give us a little bit of any things?
I'm gonna step it forward, you know.
You can come wherever you want, don't worry about it.
So we had a
2 weeks
meeting,
ago, Monday.
with Counselor
Send me
Benson.
an email.
We had a meeting with Counselor Benson, the mayor, Beach Barini, and Connor McCorkle, to discuss this local option. This came forward from the HEROES Act. There were 2 new property tax exemption clauses available for veterans exemptions, 22I and 22J. And Counselor Benson is putting forward 22J, which basically is providing municipalities with the ability to increase or provide an additional exemption to veterans up to 100%. And that's for various clauses. There's several veterans clauses that we already have, and we have applicants in those clauses. So the applicants that we have in the clauses, just to give you an idea, 22 small a through F, that's a $400 benefit. And we have 123 last year that applied and received that benefit. 22C is $1,500 annually. And in 24, there was only 1 of those that was granted. 22E is 1,000 on an annual basis. And in 24, there was 43. So we're talking about in the neighborhood of 170 applicants. And the benefit ranges from 400, which is the bulk of those exemptions that we granted, up to 1,500, depending on the clause. So the order before you is to increase that by an additional 100%. So the 400 would go to 800, 1,500 to 3,000, 1,000 to 2,000. One thing to note is that there's no additional reimbursement for from the state for the additional exemptions that are granted. We receive reimbursement now for what we have for veterans exemptions. It's not 100% of everything, but it's a good portion of what we already grant. But adopting this 22J, there'll be no further reimbursement. So it's something that basically has to be funded in order to make sure that we can meet what we need to meet in terms of covering that cost.
Excellent, thank you, Nancy. V, if you could just give a little bit of your takedown, you work with the veterans all day, and how much will this affect them or help them?
Absolutely. So this was one of the provisions that really helps or services the veterans, the general veteran population. So in Gloucester alone, we serve roughly 2,000 veterans. An estimated 500 of those, just under 500, are actually in receipt. And this also includes spouses, surviving spouses. Roughly 500 of them are actually in receipt of some sort of VA compensation or pension benefit. And only a small portion of that 500 would be eligible for this program. And again, it is the only or one of the only provisions on the HEROES Act expansion that really caters to the everyday veteran and surviving spouse. Most other provisions that were expanded under the HEROES Act really gravitate towards veterans who fall under the 100% disabled category. In this case, this provision really would help or assist veterans who fall under the 10% or 20% or a range up to 90%. And yes, some cases 100% veterans as well. But where it really is, where it really benefits the everyday veteran and surviving spouse is the large population of veterans that are receiving benefits right now are on fixed incomes. And so if this benefit can kind of mitigate some of the financial expenses or financial burdens that they incur day to day, so be it.
Excellent, thank you, V. Do we have any council questions?
You wanna go?
Okay.
So what Council Best is trying to do, so for example, if the veteran gets $400, be double, pretty much, 800.
Yes.
Right, so Kate asked this question, but I want to, the difference will be spread through the community throughout taxes, because the state will only provide so much. And then the difference is something that will get spread out 400 divided by 29,000 people.
It's
whatever.
more of a budgeting question, really,
Right.
because we have, the overlay reserve account is part of the budget. Last year, I believe it was 400,000. That's basically been where it's been for some time. That's budgeted to absorb, so it is part of the budget. Wherever the revenue's coming from, whether it's taxes or miscellaneous receipts, things like
Okay.
that. So we did talk a little bit about the implications, because it's looking like if I took exactly what we had for exemptions last year, and that's not a static figure, it could change a little. We could get more people, we could have some people fall off and not receive the exemption. It's about 90,200. That would be the financial impact. And at our meeting, we did discuss some of this in terms of what's more of an administration and CFO question. I was under the impression that the matter would be referred to B&F. I don't know if anyone's spoken with Councilman Benson about that, but or what the plan was tonight. But Connor McCorkle did discuss some of the ways that hopefully we could be able to afford to do it. Basically, is it financially feasible?
Council Grace?
Yeah, I mean, that's the number one thing, is how do we pay for it, you know, but if there is an account that is set up for that, and is there a surplus in that currently that could absorb more?
The way that it's, I would probably be recommending a slight increase in that. So there would have to be an offset somewhere. Just because we did increase the 41C, which is the senior exemption last year. That was about a $40,000 variance from what we had the year before, which ate up some of the surplus that we typically have. I did a lot of averages pretty much, and considering everything, because it's all the exemptions and any abatements come from that account as well. So like if there's any property tax abatement applications in terms of people contesting their value, or any appellate tax board cases which stem from those, that account is for the exemptions and the abatements. I still think we would need to probably increase it a little bit, not necessarily the 90,000. I was recommending 50,000 on that end.
Right. That 50,000 is gonna have to come from the budget. And right now, we're working with it here. It's $90,000. It's a lot of money, but it's also becoming tougher and tougher for people to live, especially veterans. We've asked so much of them. And I really have a hard time saying no to anybody that served our country if we can help them out and we can afford it. And I certainly don't mind spending some more money or putting some more money out, but then again, getting other people to do the same thing. But I think with the money that we have here, I'm gonna support this tonight, and then I'm gonna try to find a way of getting some more money into that account, but I'm gonna support the motion in front of us.
Will this have to go to budget and finance regardless, or?
It's weird how this is set up. I don't think it goes to budget and finance. I think this is how it goes as a.
It's not an ordinance. So
It's
I
an
don't know why it's
ordinance.
even here. Is it an
It
ordinance?
is, it's an adoption. I think.
Oh, then yeah.
Yeah, this is where it
Yeah,
goes.
Go to B and F when budget time comes.
So, with that being said, Counselor
It's not in like.
Majota,
Number 6.
6.
Committee recommendation, move to recommend the city council vote to accept general law, chapter 59, section 5, clause 22J, which will authorize an annual increase in the amount of the exemption granted under general law, chapter 59, section 5, clause 22, clause 22A, clause 22B, clause 22C, clause 22E, and clause 22F by 100% of the personal exemption amount, subject to the additions in clause 22J, to be effective for applicable exemptions granted for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2025. And I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nancy and Dean, thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
And he needs to be a leprechaun.
I can't make any promises. That was a stretch.
All right, so we have matters to be continued. We have number 7, CC 2025-009 Worthy Majota. It's gonna be continued, CC 2512 Benson, amend GCO. Chapter 22 is gonna be continued. CC 2025-13 Worthley to amend GCO chapter 22 will also be continued. Number 10, CC 2025 -15 Worthley is also gonna be continued, and I believe you have a meeting on Monday, the 24th.
Correct, 6 p.m.
6 p.m. at the St. Peter's Club. All right, with that being said, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you very much.